India triggers inflation fears after imposing major rice export ban. China strongly opposes Taiwanese VP visit to the US next month. Iraq expels Swedish ambassador after embassy in Baghdad stormed. New Zealand shooter kills 2 on eve of Women's Soccer World Cup. Pfizer plant in North Carolina damaged by tornado. Chinese consulate damaged in Russian attack on Ukraine's port cities. Ukraine to create temporary grains export route. MI6 chief makes open plea to Russians to spy for UK.
Hello, I'm Kristen. Thank you for joining us on Funday News. It is Friday, July 21st, and here are your top stories. On Thursday, India ordered a halt to its largest rice export category in a move that will roughly halve shipments by the world's largest exporter of the grain, triggering fears of further inflation on global food markets. The government said it was imposing a ban on non-basmati white rice after retail prices climbed 3% in a month. India accounts for more than 40% of the world's rice exports, and low inventories with other exporters mean any cut in shipments could inflate food prices.
Global rice prices are already hovering at their highest level in 11 years. The category impacted, non-basmati white and broken rice, accounted for around 10 million tons of a total of 22 million tons of Indian rice exports last year. The government clarified late on Thursday that parboiled rice, which represented 7.4 million tons of exports in 2022, was not included in the ban. India has extended a ban on wheat exports after curbing rice shipments in September 2022. It also capped sugar exports this year as cane yields dropped.
China's ambassador in Washington said on Wednesday that it is China's priority to stop Taiwan's vice president and presidential frontrunner, William Lai, from visiting the United States next month. Chinese Ambassador Xie Feng told the Aspen Security Forum, "Now the priority for us is to stop Lai Ching-te from visiting the United States, which is like a gray rhino charging at us." The Taiwanese government has officially deemed Lai's U.S. visit as stopovers on his way to and from Paraguay for the August 15th inauguration of its new president.
Reuters reported that Taiwanese President Tsai Ing-wen and her government have repeatedly offered to talk with China but have been rejected because Beijing views them as separatists. Both Tsai and Lai say only the Taiwanese people can decide their future. The top U.S. diplomat in Taipei said on Wednesday that there was no reason for China to take provocative action in response to Lai's stopovers in the United States and that such transits have happened for many years and are routine.
Iraq expelled the Swedish ambassador on Thursday after hundreds of protesters stormed the Swedish embassy in central Baghdad in the early hours of Thursday morning, scaling its walls and setting it on fire in protest against the expected burning of a Quran in Sweden. An Iraqi government statement said Baghdad had also recalled the chargé d'affaires in Sweden, and Iraq State News Agency reported that Iraq has suspended the working permit of Sweden's Ericsson on Iraqi soil.
Swedish news agency TT reported that on Wednesday that Swedish police granted an application for a public meeting outside the Iraqi embassy in Stockholm on Thursday. The application says that the applicant seeks to burn the Quran and the Iraqi flag. According to posts in a popular Telegram group linked to the influential cleric and other pro-Sadr media, Thursday's demonstration was called by supporters of Shiite cleric Muqtada Sadr to protest the second planned Quran burning in Sweden in weeks.
At least 2 people and an armed attacker were killed and 6 others wounded in a shooting in New Zealand's largest city of Auckland on Thursday, hours ahead of the opening match of the Women's Soccer World Cup in the city. Prime Minister Chris Hipkins said the soccer tournament would proceed as planned, adding the shooting appeared to be actions of an individual and that police were not seeking anyone else in the relation to the incident.
Thankfully, many people were able to escape the building.
During a televised media briefing, Hipkins said, "There was no identified political or ideological motivation for the shooting and therefore no national security risk." Police said the shooter in Auckland was armed with a pump-action shotgun, moved through the building site and, after reaching the upper levels, contained himself within the elevator shaft. Police said, Further shots were fired from the male and he was located deceased a short time later.
On Wednesday, drug maker Pfizer Inc. said its plant in Rocky Mount, North Carolina, which is one of the largest sterile injectable product facilities in the world, suffered heavy damage from a tornado. A company spokesperson confirmed that the Rocky Mount facility was damaged and the drug maker was assessing the situation to determine the impact on production. Nash County Sheriff Keith Stone said, "I've got reports of 50,000 pallets of medicine that are strewn across the facility and damaged through the rain and the wind."
The National Weather Service said that the damage was consistent with wind speeds up to 240 kilometers per hour. Pfizer said the facility, which produces nearly 30% of all sterile injectables used in U.S. hospitals, also focuses on manufacturing a variety of products like anti-infectives, neuromuscular blockers as well as vials and syringes. Senior Pharmacy Director at University of Utah Health, Aaron Fox, said the damage will likely lead to long-term shortages while Pfizer works to either move production to other sites or rebuilds.
A Chinese consular building was damaged on Thursday in a third successive night of airstrikes on southern Ukrainian port cities. Regional Governor Ole Kipper posted a photograph showing at least one broken window at the Chinese consulate in the Black Sea, city of Odessa. Beijing, a Russian city, did not immediately comment on the incident. One day after Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said 60,000 tons of agricultural products destined for China had been destroyed in an attack on another Ukrainian port city.
Moscow said it had carried out retaliatory strikes days after it quit a deal allowing Ukrainian Black Sea grain shipments and accused Ukraine of being behind blasts on a bridge used to transport Russian military supplies. Ukraine's military said Russian forces launched 19 missiles and 19 drones overnight, and that 5 of the missiles and 13 of the drones were shot down. Ukrainian officials see the airstrikes as an attack on global food security because Kyiv is a major grain exporter.
Ukraine said on Wednesday that it was establishing a temporary grain shipping route via Romania, one of the neighboring Black Sea countries. Ukraine's acting minister for Communities, Territories and Infrastructure Development, Vasyl Shikurakov, said in a letter to the UN Shipping Agency, the International Shipping Organization, its goal is to facilitate the unlocking of international shipping in the northwestern part of the Black Sea. Meanwhile, Russia attacked the Odessa region on Monday and Tuesday nights.
The Odessa region's 3 ports were the only ones operating in Ukraine during the war under the grain deal that allowed Ukrainian grain exports safely through a Russian blockade of ports. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said in his nightly address on Wednesday, "In the ports that were attacked there was about 1 million tons of food stored." He said, "In the terminal damaged the most from Russian terror tonight, 60,000 tons of agricultural products were stored, intended for shipment to China."
The head of Britain's Foreign Intelligence Service used a rare speech Wednesday to issue a plea to disaffected Russians to spy for the UK. Speaking in Prague, Richard Moore appealed to Russians wrestling with their conscience to take a stand against Russian President Vladimir Putin's regime and offered them the opportunity to share secrets with MI6. He said, "They are watching in horror as their soldiers ravage a kindred country. They know in their hearts that Putin's case for attacking a fellow Slavic nation is fraudulent."
In response, a Russian foreign ministry spokesperson said that any citizens disaffected by the Putin regime who are tempted to spy for Western intelligence should think again, warning of an outcome similar to that of the Skripals. In March 2018, a former GRU officer, Sergei Skripal, convicted in Russia for treason, and his daughter Yulia were poisoned in Salisbury, England. Moscow has denied any involvement as the Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said there was lack of any evidence of Russia's guilt in the case.
Now let's delve into the news of India triggering inflation fears after imposing major rice export ban. Number 1. Halt. An act of stopping the movement or progress of somebody or something. Work came to a halt when the machine broke down. The police were halting traffic on the parade route. Number 2. Trigger. To make something happen suddenly. Nuts can trigger off a violent allergic reaction. 3. Account for something. To be the explanation or cause of something. The poor weather may have accounted for the small crowd. Next, we have a multiple choice question for everyone to practice. Which answer would you choose? You can write your answer in the comment section. The correct answer will be announced tomorrow. And that's all for today's Funday News. Be sure to tune into Funday News from Monday to Friday and click the link below to join Funday for free. I'm Kristen, your host. I'll see you next time.